Hey, this is Andrew bringing you another Keyforge deck reveal. This one is going to be Crawley Breadland Centurion, and I opened this up at the first weekly sealed event that I've been to at a local store. Well, the first one that this particular store has run, so that was fun. I opened it up, I went 3-1 and got beat by a friend at the very end, which was pretty fun. So anyway, this is Crawley Breadland Centurion. It has Saurian, Star Alliance, and Logos. And let's get to it. We have Daughter, 2-power cyborg scientist with Elusive. She says during your draw a card step, refill your hand to 1 additional card. We have Eddie, 4x4, 3-power AI scientist. When you play Eddie, you archive a card, and your opponent's keys cost +1 amber for each card in your archives. Really nice key control card there. Hapsis is a 5-power mutant scientist with 5 power. And after an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Hapsis, ward Hapsis and draw a card. Good, some good board control with a draw benefit in Logos. I always like with Hapsis if I can get something that will ward it first. Yeah, we shall see. Quant is a 3-power human scientist with Reap. You may play 1 non-Logos action card this turn. Of course, if you get a card like this, you want to look at what action cards do I have that could qualify for that. And this deck has some nice ones. Sanitation Engineer is a 4-power cyborg scientist with Hazardous 1. And Reap, discard a card from your hand. That's a good sorting mechanism. I think people undervalue that. It's also okay to just throw this at an enemy creature as well. Then we have 2 copies of Twin Bolt Emission. This is an action with a bonus amber, and when you play it, you deal 2 damage to a creature and 2 damage to a different creature. Really nice for controlling the board, getting rid of small creatures. It's also really excellent in this set in Worlds Collide for getting rid of wards on creatures. 2 damage to drop a ward before you do something like maybe kill it with Hapsis is a pretty useful tool. Then we have 3 of Wormhole Technician, and this is a 3-power cyborg scientist with Reap. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a Logos card, play it, otherwise archive it. This is fantastic with the Edie because, well, first of all, it's just good. If you have 3 of these on the board and you Reap 3 times and you are taking the top 3 cards off your deck, playing the ones that are Logos and archiving the rest, that is a fantastic deal. And if you also are increasing your opponent's key cost based on the ones in archives, it's an even better deal. So this is really nice to keep on the board. And I haven't seen enough people being excited about it, but I think it's very good. Mini Group Think Tank is a 3-power robot experiment with 2 armor. I like this better than the normal Group Think Tank. So the normal Group Think Tank is a little bigger, but it has action, deal 4 damage to a creature that shares a house with one of its neighbors. Mini Group Think Tank is play, fight, reap, deal 8 damage to a creature that shares a house with 2 of its neighbors. So it's a little more limited in what you can target. If you have board control, then it's a little rough because you might end up plinking yourself. You can just leave this sitting there, not use it, or sometimes you can have it reap and kill itself. There are ways to deal with it, but if you can, if your opponent does have 3 big, and if you have board control, the nice thing is it means that if your opponent drops 3 creatures on the board, they're going to be next to each other. So it can be quite good. Okay, then we have, last one in Logos, we have Neutron Shark, which is a 1-power beast and mutant with play, fight, reap. Destroy an enemy creature or artifact and a friendly creature or artifact. Discard the top card of your deck. If that card is not a Logos card, trigger this effect again. The interesting thing with Worlds Collide out now is if there are wards on the table, whether on your side or the opponent's side, destroying something with this just removes the ward. So sometimes you have to hit an opponent's thing twice to get it off the board, or sometimes you can trade, quote unquote, one of your creatures without actually trading it because you just pop the ward. So interesting interactions there. And Neutron Shark is, in my opinion, just a very fun card. Alright, now let's talk about the Saurian. Okay. Broododon Auxiliary is a 6-power beast with Taunt and Hazardous 2. Pretty simple. Good for protecting some of your nice creatures like Daughter or the Wormhole Technicians, maybe even Hapsis or Edie. Odoak is a 5-powered dinosaur politician with play capture 1, and while it has amber on it, your amber can't be stolen. This is great protection against shadows. Okay, we have 3 copies here of Phalanx Strike. Phalanx Strike gives you an amber, you choose a creature, and you deal 1 damage to it for each friendly creature, and you can exalt a friendly creature to repeat that effect. This is, really nice board control. I've used it to exalt Odoak when, there wasn't anything for him to capture, so that he could still protect me from steal. Obviously exalt is always a risky effect, but if you have board control, it can become a little less risky. Red Orgalon, we have 2 of those. 3-power Dinosaur Philosopher with play, your opponent's keys cost +3 during their next turn. And Reap, you may exalt Ret Orgalon. If you do, your opponent's keys cost +3 during their next turn. This is really good key control. Obviously, the exalt effect mitigates the damage you do to your opponent a little bit, but if you the on play is just boom immediate. And if you are in the late game or whatnot, then that Reap effect, exalting him is probably worth it. So, pretty good. The Golden Spiral is an artifact and location, and you exhaust it to exalt a friendly creature and ready and use that creature, which is, again, really nice. Often really useful to do this to one of your non-Saurian creatures, especially in this deck. I feel like getting it on the Wormhole Technician or some of the Star Alliance stuff that comes up later is really good, but I used it once on a Red Orgalon and didn't feel too bad about that. Tricerian Legionary is a 5-power dinosaur soldier with 1 armor, taunt, and play ward a friendly creature. Really nice. City State Interest is an action. When you play it, each friendly creature captures 1 amber. And again, if you have board control, this can be just really devastating. This is really good if you're playing against Saurian decks that have maybe like City State Interest, not City State Interest, that's what this is, but Axiom of Grisk. Because now your creatures are pretty much all protected against that, and they just don't have a word wipe, which can be pretty good. Stomp is an action with a bonus amber. When you play it, you deal 5 damage to a creature. If this damage destroys that creature, you have to exalt a friendly creature. So I've used it in conjunction with the Phalanx Strike to not have to exalt something and then kill something with the Phalanx Strike to finish it off. Sometimes you don't mind exalting if you're getting that sweet board control, or if you have Tribune Pompatus out. Tribune Pompatus is a 4-power dinosaur politician with 2 armor. It says each friendly creature gets +2 power for each amber on it. Which, if you are using City State Interest, if you have some of these other, you're exalting or capturing, that can be really impressive. You have to remember, there are a lot of things in this game that just flat out destroy things, so doesn't mean the creature is totally safe, but it's pretty good. And before Tribune Pompatus fights, you can exalt him to give him that extra power. Alright, on to Star Alliance. And there's really good synergy here too. We have First Officer Frayne, who's a 4-power human with Play Fight Reap. A friendly creature captures 1 amber. Really good with the Tribune Pompatus. Really good against cards like Axiom of Grisk. Just keeps you in control of the amber situation a bit more. We have 2 copies of Light of the Archons. This is an upgrade with a bonus amber, and it gives the creature +1 power and +1 armor for each upgrade attached to it. So if you have both of these attached to a creature, you're already at +4 power, because 1/2, 1/2, and +4 armor as well. And we have some other upgrades coming as well. None in the other houses, but we have some coming in Star Alliance. So this is pretty bonkers. Medic Ingram is a 3-power human with Play Fight Reap. You may heal 3 damage from a creature and ward it. This is becoming one of my favorite cards in this set. If you get it in a board control deck, especially with dinos, it's just really powerful. Calvin is a 2-power robot with 1 armor, and fight, reap, draw a card. But Calvin can also be played as an upgrade instead of a creature with the text, this creature gains fight, reap, draw a card. I like this really well as an upgrade. You don't get that amber benefit, or the armor benefit rather, but I really like it as an upgrade. And often, let's say you have Medic Ingram out, you can put Calvin on Ingram, immediately reap and draw a card, and be warding something, and it really increases the value of a card like Ingram. Helmsman Spears, we have 2 of these. 2-power human with fight, reap, discard any number of cards from your hand. Draw a card for each card discarded this way. This is really powerful if you pull it off. I mean, drawing, discarding 4 cards, drawing 4 new cards potentially, or 3, whatever. 3 cards that aren't of your active house, and then you draw 3 more cards. One of them is probably going to be of Star Alliance. It's good. It's real good. And this wouldn't even be necessarily a bad target for Golden Spiral, right? To get that discard and maybe get some more Saurian stuff. Information Officer Gray is a 4-power human. With Play, Fight, Reap, you may reveal a non-Star Alliance card from your hand. If you do, archive it. This is fantastic with the Edie. And again, we're just speeding up our deck, and we're setting ourselves up for fantastic turns later. Really good. It's crazy to me how many of the Star Alliance things are Play, Fight, Reap. It makes them very fast, and I love it. Quad Recorder is an upgrade that says your opponent's keys cost +1 amber for each house represented among friendly creatures, to a maximum of 3. This is really good key control, right? And you can put this on an enemy creature, although I've only ever gotten it in decks that tend to do pretty good board control. But because this doesn't say the creature gains, you can put it on an enemy creature and it still benefits you, because you're still the controller of the upgrade. But typically in this deck, I would just put on one of my own creatures, because I'm almost always in board control. Quintrino Flux is an action. When you play it, you choose a friendly creature and an enemy creature. You destroy the chosen creatures and each creature with the same power as either of the chosen creatures. Good board wipe. Again, not always super useful in this deck, because if you have board control, then it might not be worth it to play this. Also, this deck has a lot of 3s, so if my opponent has a 3 on the board, I might really feel like discarding this is the right move. Science Officer Morpheus is a really great card if you can keep it on the board with this deck. 2-power shapeshifter scientist with 1 armor, and after you play a creature with the play effect, you trigger its play effect an additional time. It's really good. We'll come back to that in a second. I want to look at some of the synergies in here. So Encounter Suit is an upgrade after an action is played, but before it resolves, ward this creature. It's easy to forget about this, but this is a pretty powerful effect. And that puts us at, potentially, if we count the Quad Recorder as well as the Calvin, 5 upgrades, right? So you can have a creature, if you have all 5 of the upgrades on the creature, then it's going to be plus 10 power and plus 10 armor, which is insane. Okay, so let's look at synergies. I talked about the upgrade synergies. That's pretty cool. We have Science Officer Morpheus boosts our play effects from our creatures. So Information Officer Gray benefits, Medic Ingram benefits, Frayne benefits. Tricerian Legionary can give you 2 wards off of that. Red Orgallim boosts the cost by 6 with that. Odoak captures 2. Neutron Shark hits twice, which is crazy. Mini Groupthink Tank hits twice. I think that's it. Oh, Edie archives 2 with that. So Morpheus is really good in this deck. If you can keep him on the board, he does a lot of work. Now, then if you want to talk about key control, we have it in all 3 houses. No steal whatsoever. We have a bunch of capture, but really we're just about increasing those costs. And Quad Recorder helps increase the cost as long as we have board control. Edie increases the cost based on archives, and we have a lot of archives because of the Wormhole Technicians as well as the Information Officer Gray. And yeah, the Wormhole Technician's totally crazy. And then our last key cost bumper, is the Rhetor Gallon. And we have ways to protect the creatures here that we care about, because we have 2 taunt creatures, we have some ward, so ways to make sure those stay alive and that the key costs stay big. And then lastly, I would just say it's worth noting we have good synergies with that golden spiral, because it lets us use a creature, a non-Saurian creature on a Saurian turn, or use a Saurian creature a second time. It's good with both red or Gallams. It is good with something that has Calvin on it, because you get that draw. Let me check on the dog. Looked. The dog is fine. Alright. It's good with potentially Neutron Shark, although that would be pretty rare that I would want to do that. Probably same with Mini Group Think Tank. Probably not what I want to do. Get a capture with Frayne, get a ward with Ingram, get an archive with Gray, draw cards with the Helmsman's Spears, fight with a big creature with Pompatus, do the play or archive with Wormhole Technician, get to play an action from Quant, fight, get a ward, and draw with Hapsis. So there's just all these things that work well with Golden Spiral. Just lots of value. So yeah, all that to say, I would say this deck has some consistency. It does pretty well at board control, although the playing I've done was in sealed, but it had pretty solid board control, good ways to plink wards off of things and then kill them, and it also just felt like it almost always had something good to do and things that could work well together. And I think that's my favorite kind of combo deck, is one that doesn't need a big combo but just has lots of, it's almost worth just calling it synergy rather than combos. It's just a lot of things that kind of are all good, and then when they interact together are all slightly better than just the sum of the parts. And it can build into this amazing engine, versus, again, the kind of like what you might call a true combo deck is something where, okay, if I hit this, then this amazing thing happens, but I have to get, but it's very draw order dependent. This deck is not very draw order dependent, because you just get good things and they work together well. So yeah, that was Crawley Breadlands Centurion. Thanks for walking through it with me. I hope you enjoyed, and that you'll get out and forge some keys.